And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Today, folks, we're taking a look at a game that has no name. No, it does. It's Buffalo. Buffalo on the back to outwit, to puzzle, or baffle. I don't know that the word is used often that way. I mean, that is one of the definitions of it. But anyhow, in this game, which has millions of combinations, and it's probably true, the different number of combinations in the game, you're just trying to think of people as fast as you can. Let me show you. Okay, this game is very simple in the fact that there are two giant decks of cards. I believe there's 216 cards in each pile. And what you'll do is you turn over the top card of one pile, which is kind of an adjective usually. Here's sleazy, and then I turn this over, a sleazy movie character. And everybody has to figure out what is the name of a sleazy movie character. So I'd say Sergeant Bilko, you might argue, and say he's not sleazy, he's sleazy. So anyhow, I would get those cards if I'm the first person to shout it out. And then we would turn over. Here now we have a skinny commentator. Now let's say, for example, nobody could think of a skinny commentator. After a certain amount of time we say fine, and we turn over two more cards, and you only have to match any two cards. So I could pick a high-strung person who's also skinny, or a comedian commentator, or a skinny comedian, or a high-strung comedian, which would of course be Jim Carrey or Robin Williams, and so I shout those out and I get those two cards, and then we keep adding cards. Now, there's all different sorts of cards in the deck. Let me just show you a variety of them. We have skinny and Christian and cynical and dangerous and dashing and cool and dead and dreamy and Italian and inspirational and Scandinavian. Every once in a while a Buffalo card will come out. There's several in both decks. When a Buffalo card comes out, whoever gets a match on the table will take all the cards rather than just the ones for their match. And valiant and influential and tragic and patriotic. Okay? Over here on the blue pile, we have alien and vegetarian and impersonator and sculptor and techie and bigot and singer and thief and gambler and game character and gardener and geek. And there's also buffaloes in the blue deck also. Now, these characters are the people that you can shout out. Can be real people, they can be fictional folks, you know, it doesn't matter. As long as everyone at the table, I guess, agrees with you. You can play with harder options where you have to match all the cards on the table to get the Buffalo card. There's a repetition rule in which during the course of the game you can only pick someone's name once. You know, for example, I said Sergeant Bilko, you could not use him later on, although I doubt anyone else would have used him anyway. So you're going to be playing and trying to get as many cards as you possibly can. And whoever has the most cards is the winner of the game. This says when the game decks run out. That is lunacy, folks. Lunacy to play when the game decks run out. So instead, I think you should put a certain number of cards there and then have the decks run out. This says 20-30 minutes. No way if you're going to go through those humongous decks. Well, the rules themselves could need some work. Like, I mean, I'm thinking you don't use the whole big decks for a game, and if you do, I mean, think about it. There's 216 cards, so that means you're turning over things 216 times, even if you just did 10 seconds per match, which seems like it would take longer for people to say things out. That would be 2,160 seconds, which is a long period of time. And that's if you're and that's not going to happen. So I don't know. I'm just assuming that was a miss in the rules or something. But let's just look at the game beyond that. The game itself is fine. I mean, sometimes there's some really odd combinations out there. You get Scandinavian commentator, and everyone's sitting there, do I know a Scandinavian commentator? You know, and then there's arguments over this person really, you know, how do you know that person's an atheist? The atheist card was turned over. There's no proof of that. They act like one. You know, there's all these sorts of things. And sure, some people will like that whole, let's argue over this. And if you play that way, you better not play with those big decks because you're going to spend 2 minutes per match. As it is, it's okay. It's an interesting idea. I don't mind it, but there a lot of it seems like a lot of the things that they put in there. I mean, let me just go through these. For example, here Some of these things, just like Korean American, well, most people don't know, especially if this is in the US, you're playing the game, most people don't know more than 10, so that's not going to match most of the blue cards in there. Or introverted, well, how do you even determine whether someone's introverted or not? Or crafty, or, you know, there's just some really odd cards in here. Chivalrous, well, how do you, I mean, for fake people, it's easier, and I think, and when I played the game, that's where most of the answers came from, was fake people, because they're easier, their characteristics are easier to define, because they're being written about. In real life, we argued about those people for a long time. So anyhow, is this game for you? It's an interesting party game. It's okay. I wasn't really enamored with it that much. I mean, the idea is okay, but the cards were, and then it felt very samey. We did the same thing over and over and over and over again. And those Buffalo cards, woo, you know, they came out, you can win all the cards. Well, big deal. You know, it's just not, there's usually not more than 4 cards out there anyway, because when there's 4 cards out there, people then can much more easily find a match. All right, that was kind of a meh review, wasn't it? But that's really the way the game made me feel. It's not a horrible game, it just wasn't that exciting. Buffalo.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
Do.